Ready, you want to get us going?
Coach, you got a late, I guess, summer edition with Kyle Ramsey and
Mm-hmm.
got Matthew Shipley who you brought in. How's that competition going? And I guess you got other guys probably competing too, like
Yeah, Vito Cabarusso's in that as well. And those were the three. I thought I really felt like Shipley and Vito had a good spring, but just when we got in the stadium, we try to grade them three ways. One is when nobody's around, we call it just charting. There's no pressure, just me, other than me, yelling at them a little bit. And then we go live. So live now they have a rush, and then we do scrimmages. And they were pretty dang good in live and just charting, nobody watching. But in the stadiums, what concerned, they were 50% in the spring. So Ramsey, really excited about him. He played Abilene Christian, was at Houston 4 years. Great kids, already graduated with an engineering degree. Had a good summer. They've all had a good summer, and we're really just getting into camp. Today was our first day to kick our live field goals, and they were shorter field goals, and those guys all made the field goals, which is expected in that situation. But really glad to have Ramsey and Shipley and Vito. I think it's going to be a great competition, and we'll see how it plays out here the next 2 weeks.
it's obviously the landscape of college football is different. Have you ever had two guys on the same roster that each made 14 field goals last year?
Yeah, that's the beauty of the portal, I guess you'd say, But the thing I'll say about both of those guys, because they're new here, is Ramsey. Last year I think it was 15 of 16, something along those lines. I had 4 over 50, and that's a really a heck of a season, but Shipley, he's had. He didn't have the best holder out in Hawaii last year. He never's told me. I'm just watching tape, But man, he made a lot of field goals and hit a game winner. I mean, he did one of those tour deals. He run out there and kick it at the last second. It was a huge field goal in the game. They had a kick blocked earlier in the game. So I think we got some good players, and we'll see who kind of rises to the top. But happy with all of them right now.
With Shipley specifically, just how has he responded to this competition with Ramsey coming in?
Really well. I tell you, Matthew's a phenomenal kid. He's a twin. Just very well centered, comes from a great home. And be honest with you, he's never said one word about it. He just knows he has to work and do better. And that's the one thing I was very attracted to with him was his personality.
Where do you feel like the return game is? Is Satania probably still mostly in the mix there?
Yeah, I mean, he's back. And he had a great year last year. I thought we made a lot of strides with him. But we do have some other players here. Jordan Anthony's a kid that's got a lot of speed. He's really probably more of a kick returner than a punt returner. You do have Jalen Braxton, who I think is a good returner as well. Been using Monte Harrison back there a little bit, trying him. He's a big kid, punt returner and kick returner. So I meet with him one day in my office, and I'm saying, okay, he's 29. I said, he brings that punt returner, and I go, golly, man, you're a pretty big guy. Can you do that? He said, Coach, I play professional baseball. I'm a center fielder. I can track a ball down. So I said, okay, you got a good point. And he's a big kid, but so anyway, we'll see how it all shakes out. But I think we have some really good competition there. And Isaiah is obviously the returning guy, but we're going to let him compete in camp.
You probably saw a lot of reaction to the NFL kicks the other night from the shortened, and who knows, that might come to college one day. Any thoughts on what that looked like?
The whole reason behind it was last year. I think, Trey, you talked about this in college football last year, but the NFL was about 22% on returns last season. And their whole deal is they want to get the return game back in the game of football. So from that perspective, I think it's a good thing. If you have a phenomenal returner back there, it's obviously not a good thing for the kickoff cover unit, But I certainly think if they continue this on maybe a 3-year trend, we'd obviously see it in college.
You said 50% in the stadium for both those guys, but was that just the red-white game or all?
We have 2 scrimmages in the spring, red and white game, and then we have a scrimmage 2 weeks in.
You got anything you point your finger at why they didn't kick better in the stadium?
Well, possibly the first scrimmage was first time in the stadium, kicking. That's all I can relate it to. The second time spring game, it was really windy, and I never make excuses. It's what we talk about. That's an imposter. We block imposters out. Don't pay any attention to them, right? But obviously, you got to play around that. I think in the spring game they were both trying to overcorrect the wind too much. Is what I felt. But at the end of the day, you just got to make those field goals. We want to be 80% on the year. That's what we want to be every year. You can You can be a 78% guy and a 73% guy. If you hit 80% of your field goals, I mean, you're gonna have some special seasons, I think.
And you got, I think Sam was in here the other day saying probably need to get it figured out in about 2 weeks. I think that was
Yeah.
right. I mean, is that enough time for you? And do you feel good that, somebody's gonna figure it out? Maybe more than one of them, but you have to pick
Yeah.
a good choice to make.
Yes, the tough part now, and I think the kids like this, but they don't. Over the next, like the first 3 days, everybody's got a different sniper and a different holder. Everybody, cause we got 3 apiece, right? And we're gonna do it again the next 3 days, and then we're gonna see how that plays out, and then we'll go to the scrimmage. So that's the tough part right now. But if a guy can continue to make it with a different holder and sniper, it makes you feel better about him. So we're going through that process as we get closer, and it kind of starts showing its face, and we'll start narrowing it down to those guys. But we're giving him every opportunity to be the guy for the next 2 weeks.
I guess besides Eli, who's snapping, and is Bale the number one holder? Who else is holding?
Yes, so Bell's holding, Dubwig's holding, who's a guy here from Arkansas, from over in Little Rock, Conway, close to Conway area, and Charlie Vondermeeden would be our other holder. He came here as a kicker, but because he's young, I'm just going to work him mainly at holding and punting this year to kind of get us through the year. But and Devin Bell, he's having a really good camp so far, and so is Dubwig. I mean, they're both solid punters. I'm real pleased with them. I'm really expecting a good year out of those two guys.
Yeah, Coach, sticking with the punters, how surprised were you when Max decided to leave, and then how confident are you? You mentioned it right there with Devin, filling in behind him.
Yeah, don't talk really a lot about kids that leave. I'm sure y'all hear that all the time, but I think it's part of the game. He's a great kid, and I think an opportunity to play with his brother had something to do with it. But when he left, I had great peace. I really did, because those two guys, man, they're both good punters, and they have really competed. And I didn't feel like there would be drop off though. I really felt like we had a great punter in Devin Bell. My biggest concern now is just getting Dub ready. Dub wig. Call him Dub.
Yeah, if I did my math right, I think Eli's, but based on media guides, they had like 234 snaps. I can't remember a bad one. Just how good a snapper is he?
His strength is short snapping. I mean, he'll snap it back with threads. We always talk about the threads facing the goalpost. That way we're not hitting threads, right? He's really good. I mean, in camp, and probably the first 30 snaps at camp, he's missed maybe 3 threads, which is really hard to do. But I don't know if y'all remember his freshman year, when the Ole Miss game breaks his hand. And that was like game 9 or 10. It was late in the season. But and they would bring the wood, but he just kept snapping. So he's a consistent kid. He's a tough kid, and he's been a really good long snapper for us. And we've been happy to have him here.
And then I don't know if you thought about this. You're the one holdover survivor, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it, from Sam's first staff. And I know you guys were obviously together in Georgia. Kind of what do you think is the key to that longevity?
Well, I didn't know Sam before I went to Georgia, and we became neighbors. And you could stay at Georgia, and we were going to win there. Things were heading the right direction. But Sam just was always, if I get the job, you're going to come with me. And I always told him I would, knowing not sure if I would or wouldn't, right? But he comes up after the SEC championship game. He says, "Hey, Coach, I'm going for go take the job. You coming?" I mean, it was like a 10-second conversation. He was out the door. I said, "Oh, I'm coming." So we go to the Sugar Bowl. Sam's obviously not there, and I mean, the night after the Sugar Bowl, which ended about 11:30, he said, "I'm calling Kirby right now, and I'm telling him you're coming." I said, "Could you wait until we get back and call him so I ain't got to ride on the plane with him tomorrow?" He said, "No, I'm doing it right now." So I had to deal with that night and the next morning. But I really enjoyed working for Sam. I think he's a good person, obviously, but I think he's a great football coach, and he just loves this place. When we were at Georgia, he always kept a picture of Arkansas on a screen in his office. And at the time, I'm not thinking Arkansas, but that was just part of his love for the state of Arkansas. So
Have you seen any changes in Devin, just maybe mentally, since Max is kind of gone and he's the
yeah,
number one guy?
yeah, I think the biggest thing with Devin, he probably feels like the world has been lifted off his shoulders. He's not having to compete with Max anymore. Those two really good punters. But man, he is just and Devin's always been a very energetic kid. But he's becoming a real leader for us, and I just hope that kind of carries into the season. And he started off with a really good camp so far. I've been pleased with him.
Sam has told us that you kind of prefer having a separate guy that kicks field goals and does kickoffs. And then, Cam Little kind of made that up, asserted himself as doing both. Just what is behind that? Maybe the desire to have two
Yeah.
separate guys.
Well, when I was at Auburn, Daniel Carlson did both. When I'm at Georgia, Rodrigo did both. Rodrigo Blankenship. When I came here, I knew we had to have one because we're going to cover some really good teams. So that's where I found Vito Cavaruso. He had a big leg in high school, and I worked him out. He wasn't very good, but he showed up, and it has been really good for us. But we've been blessed. Well, I was blessed at Georgia, been blessed here. We've had phenomenal kickoff guys, and when you don't have one, it can get you if you're playing a really good returner. So I'm not necessarily in favor of splitting them. I'm fine with one guy doing it. I just want the best guy to do it. And how I've always done it, you got to win it in camp. You got to win it these 2 weeks right here. And Cam could have never been the kickoff guy as a freshman. He just wasn't there. His strength wasn't there. And man, last year he had a great year. And he told me he felt like he got a lot stronger in the weight room and been developed. And he said, Coach, I'm gonna win this job, and he did.
Does anything change with what you guys do during fall camp with the kickers because it's a competition, like more kicking in the stadium or, more high pressure situations,
Yeah.
something like that?
Well, y'all probably won't believe me this, but I'm telling you, when Cam was here, we made him compete every year for the job. It was not his, and he knew he had to win it in camp. I know that sounds crazy, but that's how we do it. But with this new crop of guys, I definitely gonna spend a little bit more time in the stadium because y'all asked about the spring game. I feel like this spring we didn't get enough time in the stadium, and it's a little different on the far end with the wind, the way it plays out. And so we're trying to get over here more because I want those guys comfortable in the stadium. So that's the only thing that's a little different. The competing's the same. We're just trying to get a little more time in our stadium.
Yeah, Vito, does he kind of have the inside track on the kickoff job, or?
Well, they're competing again, right? But obviously he started here for 2 years. If I don't know if y'all remember this, his second year here, he led the nation in touchbacks, right? Around 91%, I believe, on the year. But he has a great leg, and he's also competing for the field goal job as well, which is important to him. So, but it is, and I think we got several guys that are good kickoff guys. It's good competition. But Vito's obviously done it on the field and been very successful doing it.
You got a reputation for putting guys in the NFL. Looks like Cam's won the Jags job, I guess, and I think it looks like Bates has won the Lions job.
Yeah, that's
What
crazy.
are your thoughts on those guys?
Well, Bates, he was headed to Mississippi State on scholarship, which is kind of crazy. I called him. I said, "Let's come see us." I mean, he has his car packed. I said, "Let's come see us for Friday and Saturday night, or just for Friday night." He comes over. He fell in love with it, and he stayed, and he walked on here. That's what he did. He got a scholarship to walk on here. Now, he felt like this was a good situation for him. And he has just continued to work. And he really had a strong leg here, but Cam was just a little bit more consistent, not by a lot. But Bates is really good. Cam's really good. And I'll be honest with you, it's nothing I do. I'm not a guru. I just try to recruit really good players. And if you'll do that, you got a chance to be okay.
How happy are you to see him?
Oh, I'm really happy. Those 3 guys, we have Jay Kamara at Tampa Bay that punted for us at Georgia, Daniel Carlson, that's with the Raiders, but those guys all know each other. And this is what I love about Cam. Cam sends me a picture the other day, and it's got a picture of him, Bates, and Daniel Carlson together. And then the next day, it's him and Bates, and it was a kid that Prather that I didn't coach him at UCF. I would just recruit him there. And so Cam, he sends me a picture of that. So that's just the kind of kid he is, kind of makes it fun.
Max as an Aussie had that kind of bag of tricks, different styles of punt, rugby and all. Does Bale, do y'all do any rugby? Can he do a bag of tricks like
Yeah, I mean, he has his tools. We call them tools, not tricks, but I understand what you're saying. But he has his tools, and Max certainly, all the Aussies have different, more rugby guys. Devin can certainly do a lot of things too. And we're trying to kind of piece all that together as we go through camp.
I assume you like Arkansas. That this is your 5th year that, the living here, I guess.
Yeah, I do. I love it here. Honestly, it's a great place to live. And when I first came here, I really didn't know what to expect. My wife loves it here, and I have 2 kids. One's graduated from high school here, and 2 of them are about to graduate from college here. And for me, I'd like to be here for a long time. I enjoy it. I really do. And you get opportunities to go places, but I just really enjoy coming to work here, and I enjoy going home at night. I enjoy getting out in the town. So, great place.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank y'all.